This is Jim Minion from Two Loose Screws. I'm listening to Barbecue Central.
Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
All right, good evening and welcome to the really big Barbecue Central show. This is the show where we talk about all things that are important in the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you would like to get in contact with the show this evening, or you would like to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do all that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter. Coming up in about 13 minutes from now, maybe 12 minutes from now, somebody who has not appeared on the show in a long time, and it is not an exaggeration to say years, maybe over 10 years. However, through his lifespan and genesis with the show, became an integral part, was, I guess, what I would consider to be a fairly long-time sponsor of the show, was a competitive cook, a retailer in the live fire business, and then for the last 2, 3, maybe 4 years, as the embedded correspondents and I go through the guest Hall of Fame nominations, this name started to get brought up, and this year in 2024, he finally waltzed over the threshold and became a Hall of Fame member. The smokin' guitar player returns to the show for an origin story. Fred Bernardo will join us. Fred will be in for 14 past and 35 past because we need to have time in order to do the origin story right. So I'm going to venture a guess and say that the majority of you that listen to the show nowadays, if you're not really, really, really long-time fans of the show, you probably don't even know who Fred is or what he meant to the industry, how he was, let's say, a visionary of sorts, leading into things that have become way mainstream now. He was way ahead of it. A Renaissance man of sorts. So we'll talk to Fred, learn all about him and his youth and how he grew up and where the food interest came from. Was he a collegiate man? Is there a love story to be told? And then how do you get into barbecue and why'd you get out of barbecue? All the stories will be revealed here tonight in the first hour. Then we'll move to the second hour for her last appearance in 2024. Creator of Hardcore Carnivore line of products and the recipe writer over at JessPryles.com. Jess Pryles joins the show. And then 35 past the second hour. You usually find him 35 past the first hour in the third Tuesday of the month, but he graciously bowed out of that segment and said, I'll finish the show. We'll come out of the bully tonight. Creator of CookoutNews.com, Wes Wright, joins the show to close. So that's how the show's laying out. Fred Bernardo's origin story in the first hour, Jess Pryles' second hour, and Wes Wright in the second hour as well. And look here, our good pal Gordon Thompson checking in through Facebook chat. Most people are tuning in through YouTube. Gordon, you do what you want to do. But there is a continued lively chat that may or may not have anything to do with the show over on YouTube. Hey, don't forget, you can follow me socially on Instagram, the Twitter, the TikToks, the Snappy Snaps, and the LinkedIns, all with the handle at BBQ Central Show. We say good evening to those of you watching this show tonight through one of our streaming platform partners, Facebook.com/BBQ Central Show or Twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. Or you can watch on YouTube, which is YouTube.com/@BBQ Central Show, where we have a new YouTube poll question of the week, and we're asking everybody this, including all guests. After last week's miss of his segment, is it time to boot Meathead off the show? 2 no-shows is too many, and currently 57% of you are saying no. I got to be honest, I'm surprised even 2 people said yes. But we are all, it just changed now, 60% of people saying no. So starting to bridge the gap the other way. We were getting closer and closer to 50-50, which is always the goal here on these YouTube poll questions of the week. Can we split the audience? And a little bit more than half of the normal votes that we would get have already been cast here in the first 6 minutes of the show. So now 62% of you are saying no. So it is going a little bit better for Meathead, even over the last handful of seconds. 38% of you are saying yes, we should kick him off the show. I agree and disagree with the question at the same time. Results of the poll from last week's show. I asked everybody, does Al McAuliffe make you want to be a cigar smoker? This one closer to 50-50, but 56% of you indeed said no. No matter how great of a storyteller and a businessman and all this other stuff that Al McAuliffe really is, and the great stories that he regaled us with 2 weeks ago, it doesn't push you any closer into becoming a premium hand-rolled cigar passionado like I and so many other barbecue lovers are. So we'll start here this evening. In keeping with the poll question of the week, and many of you emailed in over the course of this past week asking if Meathead was okay, I can assure you with 100% assurity that he is indeed fine. He replied back to me the next day, said he had dinner, and ended up falling asleep in his easy chair. And that was that. Look, you get to the advanced ages of a meathead, and if you sit down and accidentally fall asleep after dinner, that could be it for your evening. Obviously, it was for him last Tuesday. The good news is this. He's okay. Meathead, what many, and myself included, consider to be a national treasure. We must protect him at all costs. So if some extra hours of shut-eye extend his dwindling number of years, I'll take it. However, we have communicated over the past weekend, and starting in 2025, we have agreed to a revised schedule of appearances. He will go from his standard monthly segment to now a quarterly segment. This is probably a schedule I will keep with others as well. That third Tuesday of the month has a great lineup of quarterly guests. I could do that with the second Tuesday of the month as well. We could do a Meathead, Steven Reichlin. I can think of some others right off the top of my head. I believe Chris Young said he was interested in doing a quarterly appearance. Mr. Jonathan from Two Guys Smoke Shop and Cigar Authority's podcast said he would be interested. Also, David Gafford from the Barbecue Lab said he's into doing something on a recurring quarterly basis. So plenty to choose from, plenty to line it out with. So what do you want to hear from, or who do you want to hear from 4 times a year? Let me know. Send me an email. Tell me the names of the folks I should be getting in touch with, and we'll see what we can also line up as well. Maybe start to dwindle some of the monthly guests and get quarterly guests for a varying and differentiating opinion on live fire. Also, Many of you asking how my parents fared through Hurricane Milton last week. So first of all, thank you for asking, number one. And then number two, I certainly don't want to speak for them, so maybe they would give us an update on their own at some point during the show this evening. But I can tell you with 100% assurity they are alive. And by all accounts seem to be doing better than average. Could have been way worse. The things can always be worse, right? I mean, that's what we know without a shadow of a doubt, that no matter how bad things are, whatever you're into, they can always be worse. The best news of the evening is that Fred Bernardo was in the green room. He's getting ready to share his origin story with the Centralites. And for the official record for barbecue in general that could be listened to 40 and 180 years from now, people will find out who Fred Bernardo is in the next decade or two, because we'll have it on tape. Did you take part in the Schwank Grills offer last week that ended yesterday? Did you? Oh, I hope you did. But if you didn't, the good news is this: you still can buy a Schwank grill. It still will reach 1,500 degrees of searing temperature using infrared burner technology that they have developed. What does it mean to you? You can now grill the juiciest steaks you've ever tasted in minutes. Not tens and 20s of minutes, but 10 minutes. Or 4 minutes, or 3 minutes, depending on thickness. No more wasting your life cooking the proteins you want. Schwank Grill does it quickly and with great results. Remember, at 1,500 degrees for the steaks, you can build that delicious crust on both sides without overcooking it. Incredibly juicy, incredibly flavorful. Nothing like this grill. In fact, some are calling it the future of grilling. Now, look, I don't need to go on and on about how cool this thing is. You know its portability. You know its multiple levels that you can raise it to control the intensity of the heat depending on what you're cooking. You know you can pretty much cook anything you want on it. I mean, have a look at it right here. This thing is tremendous. Stainless steel. It's very sexy. But Centralites want a deal. Of course you do. Here it is right now. If you go to schwankgrills.com, SCHWANK, schwankgrills.com, and use promo code BBQ Central at checkout, you can save $150 off said Schwank grill. It's that easy to save money and enjoy restaurant quality heat. There's also a link in the show notes, link in the show newsletter. You can go to the homepage, click on the Schwank Grills logo on the main page of the website under the sponsors category. Many different ways to do it. Just make sure you use promo code BBQ Central when you're checking out so you can save $150. Think about that. You save that money, you could buy those lobster tails that you're seeing being cooked in front of you, or those prime or Wagyu steaks. It's up to you. It's your $150 that you save. We're back with Fred Bernardo, the smoking guitar player. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com. Your number one source for quality wood pellets. Visit cookinpellets.com to view their products, and then go to Amazon.com or Walmart.com or Lowe's.com to purchase. Same great products, even better shipping rates. Chris Becker and the gang over at cookinpellets.com. If you recall, last month, the Embedded Correspondents and I put a new Guest Hall of Fame class in for 2024. My next guest, someone who was mentioned at least 2, 3, maybe 4 times as someone who should be in the Guest Hall of Fame. And this year, He finally garnered the required unanimous vote count to cross over the threshold and join the class of 2024. If you go way back with the show, you know him as the smoking guitar player, the pitmaster of Tasty Licks Barbecue Team, the proprietor of Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply, and the driver of his competition RV, known as Barbecue One. Here to give us his origin story, a longtime friend, also a longtime sponsor of the show. He is the one and the only Fred Bernardo. Fred, how are you, pal?
I'm here, buddy. How about you? How you doing?
I am so excited. It's been incredibly too long. To me, an icon in the industry that kind of fell off, and I lost track. And
yeah, well, it's good to hear I got all 4 votes.
Yeah, 5 votes, actually. All 5 votes.
Oh, 5.
Yes, that's right. We added a new embedded correspondent early part of the year, I think it was. So now you got to get 5 unanimous votes, which is great. And you were brought up, as I'd mentioned in the open, maybe 2, 3, 4 different times. And I think it was a combination of, I've never heard of this guy by some of the folks, and then over the years they go back, John does a best of show, or they go back on their own to research, and they're like, you know what, this guy was something else. As I said in the open, a renaissance man of sorts, which we're going to learn all about. But before we get into that, we got to know Fred the person before we knew him as the smoking guitar player and proprietor of Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply. When and where was a Fred Bernardo born?
Well, I was born in Temple, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Reading, Pennsylvania. Little suburb, early 50s. And me and a whole bunch of my buddies all grew up there and in suburban area, and went to the local high school, did the whole thing. High school, I was in the stage band. I'm a guitar player, so I didn't play in marching band. But we had a stage band, and I was a guitar player there, and I had a garage band with my buddies, and we'd play at school dances and an occasional wedding, whatever we could scrape up. And that's kind of how it started. But that stage band was very influential. I just happened to have a music teacher of the stage band there that was a sort of a swing aficionado, and really kind of left his mark on me and my buddies. Quite a few of us became professional musicians. I don't know if that's good or bad, but here we are,
I know music is an important part because before Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply, there was Fred's music. We'll get to that here in a second. But as you recall growing up, what do you remember about family life being like for you as a youth?
I think it was a normal family life, get up in the morning, have breakfast, run out of the house, get on my bicycle, and, come back when the streetlights went on was when you had to come back. And I don't think my mom knew where I was all day long. Didn't matter. Or sometimes we'd go to the local community swimming pool every day, swimming and playing ping pong, which I still do with my buddies. And that was pretty much it, And then, of course, the musical thing, playing in a band was a big part of my, I guess you could say, my youth, my later youth. I started when I was 13 or 14. So through high school, I was playing guitar and, playing some gigs, making a couple bucks, and it was a couple bucks. The first job my band played, we got $5 for the whole band. That was $1 a man.
Wow.
Yeah. I should have read the sign right then and there. I should have learned.
Yeah, but it's passion. It's not about money at that point. It's about, trying to live out the dream that you have as a young guy.
Yeah. It continues to be about passion because most musicians are, seriously underpaid. And you spend thousands of dollars for an instrument, and then you go out and you play for 3 or 4 hours and you get, $100, $50, But every now and then somebody hits big, like Taylor Swift, who was one of my customers, she hit it pretty big. So every now and then somebody hits it, Do
you have other siblings in the house, or are you only child?
Nope. I was an only child, and I convinced my mom. We were at a local fair, and the local music store had a display and had an electric guitar there. I guess a bunch of other stuff, but all I saw was the guitar. And it was a contest. Win this guitar, win this guitar in lessons, I think it was. So I convinced my mom to put in a thing, and sure enough, we won second place. which wasn't the guitar, but it was 6 free guitar lessons, and they loaned you a guitar, which was the cheapest guitar ever made on the face of the earth. And I went to the lesson. There were about 50 people that won second place.
Wow.
And all 50 of us were in a room, and the lesson was like, put your finger here, strum like this, and then let's show you some guitars to buy. So the lesson was like half play the guitar, half here's some guitars you can buy. But I remember I went home and I practiced that thing like crazy. And I remember saying to my mom, hey, I can kind of do this. And that was sort of the start of it. Pretty interesting.
Did you find it weird being an only child, or since that's your only environment, then this is just the way it is? Especially if you look around your friends and have other brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I didn't know anything different, but I think I was lonely. At the time, I thought I was lonely not having any brothers and sisters. But I read a book later years ago called "Only the Lonely" about only child. Traits they get growing up, and you get independence, and you have to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
You learn to be very independent. You learn to be entrepreneurial, maybe. And that was me, So I just practiced that guitar and practiced it and decided I was going to be able to play that thing. Got some lessons, and, that was the start of it. So that was, let me see, maybe 1965. So that's pretty many years.
What's the food scene like as you're growing up?
Well, I'm Italian. I'm 100% Italian, so there was a lot of Italian food, and I don't think there was any grilling except if the family, and I mean it was a big family, Italian family, so if there was any grilling, it was hot dogs and hamburgers. That was it. My mother, the families, they didn't know anything about any other kind of food, but they were all fabulous cooks, all of them.
Yeah.
And my aunt, who was a tremendous cook, when I was 8 years old, stood me on a kitchen chair at her stove and taught me how to make scrambled eggs. I remember that. And other than that, though, there was a lot of pasta. And Sundays, we always had roast chicken on Sundays and roast potatoes in my house. And then one night of the week, it was usually spaghetti, some kind of spaghetti or pasta. But I was around good food, that's for sure. Always around good food.
Are they not bringing you in to the kitchen and be like, Freddie, we're going to teach you the secret sauce recipe, or here's the trick to meatballs, or did you have to ask in order to be included?
No, well, like I say, my one aunt stood me on a chair and showed me how to make scrambled eggs because I always liked scrambled eggs so much. But other than that, no, there wasn't too much of it, but I picked up a lot of it. Yeah. I can cook all the recipes at my mother's sauce. I cook these specialty peppers, dried peppers. I dry peppers. I just strung a whole bunch of them and have them in my basement drying. And I cook them, fry them a certain way. Nobody's ever seen it. It's very rare. You have to be. I'm not Calabrian. I'm Abruzzese from the Abruzzi region. But in Calabria, in Italy, they do a lot of the pepper. Well, they got a lot of pepper dishes. But anyway, so I learned to make all those, a lot of those Italian things just from being around my mother, sort of by osmosis, I guess you could say. But there was never anything like barbecued stuff at all. The ribs went into sauce. Spare ribs went into sauce. And that was it. That was the only time I had any kind of ribs was in sauce. And they were good. Yeah.
High school years, you a good student, or you just trying to get by and you got other stuff on your mind?
I pretty much just tried to get by.
Yeah.
And
I imagine you're pretty into music at that point, too.
I was really into the music thing. So that kind of, because I was a little bit socially behind. I went to Catholic school for the first 7 years. Well, till 8th grade. And in 9th grade, I transferred to public school, which is where all my friends were. And so I was kind of socially behind. They had all been together for all those years. And here comes this kid from Catholic school. But because I played the guitar, I immediately was in bands and in the stage band, et cetera, et cetera. So that kind of helped me, get in the swing of things socially. And then, of course, I was playing at the school dances and playing in the school shows. And, anytime anybody needed a guitar player, I got the call, which still happens kind of sometimes.
Were you
sometimes still get the call?
Were you eventually college bound, or were you done?
Yeah, so I went to college. Nobody in my family went to college, and all my dad wanted for me was to go to college. So I went to college, and as far as college goes, I was a really good guitar player. I'm not such a good college student.
Yeah, you graduate?
So I pretty much dropped. Well, I don't know. After 2 years, I wasn't going there anymore. Is that graduation? No, I don't think so. I just kind of dropped out. Was flunking out. Would have dropped out.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was play the guitar, get in a band, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So, at that point, my dad said to me, well, now you're not in college anymore. Now you got to start paying us room and board, and you got to go get a job. Well, I started putting my name out to bands in the area and outside of the area, and I got a call. Within a couple of weeks, I got a call from a really good band in the Allentown area, Lehigh Valley, which is about half an hour, 40 minutes from us.
Yeah.
I get a call from this really good band up there, come and audition. So I get my gear, I go up there. I don't know who anybody is. I go up there, I auditioned, and they auditioned about 20 guitar players, including some pretty good ones. And I remember him saying to me, well, you can sing, right? And I said, sure. But I hadn't really ever done any singing. So I just faked it. And I had a second audition. I had to drive to Wilkes-Barre, which is about, I don't know, 2.5 hours, and play on stage in this really low-class bar, like a college bar thing. I played a set of music with Aaron. They set me down and said, hey, you got the job, you get a salary. I went home and said to my dad, this was kind of a pretty organized thing with like agents and trucks and
really,
but it played dives, it played bars,
And was it an original band or were you doing covers?
No, it was all covers.
Yeah.
Rock and roll band, all covers, 5-piece, but good, very versatile, and very popular. And
you knew them?
I actually was salaried. So I go home and I tell my dad the next day. My dad said to me, hey, did you get a job yet? And I say, yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm going on the road in 3 days. I got hired by a band. And he said, that isn't a job. How much are you getting paid? And I told him what my salary was. And he said, oh, because it was pretty decent.
When was this? What year is this?
So this had to be 1970 or 71, probably 71.
What do you make as a singer in 71 for a cover band?
Well, I was a guitar player.
Yeah.
Okay. Guitar player, and I sang, a little background with the guys, My salary was $125 a week. And in those days, that was a ton of dough.
Wow.
I mean,
really?
Seriously, that was really, really good money. Yeah, really good money.
Wow.
And, yeah. Hey, dude, it was 50 some years ago. It was good money. And I was off and running, man.
Yeah.
I rehearsed.
You're a pro.
I learned 60 songs in 2 nights and played the next couple hundred nights in a row. And the first year I only had 2 nights off. I had, I think it was either Easter and Christmas or Thanksgiving and Christmas.
How far are you traveling?
Well, from kind of like New England, like we went to Montpelier, Vermont, down to maybe the Jersey Shore and Delaware, up and down, up and down, up and down. And the agents who made a cut of your pay, they sat home watching TV, and it was their job to just keep you running. So we were running around like crazy, playing every night. We did all the work, and they got their piece.
So what's the?
And after about
is the stretch goal here that Fred gets seen by a quote unquote real band, and then they solicit you away from the cover band, or are you just together going, hey, this is what we're going to do for the rest of our lives. We're playing music, we're getting paid, and this is what we're going to do. Everybody knows us.
I don't think anybody thought about any of that.
Really?
We were just out. Well, we were having fun, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And rehearsing in the afternoons, playing every night. Then literally rehearsing every afternoon, playing from 9:30 to 2 a.m. every night. And there wasn't any thought of any of that stuff. For me, I was just trying to develop my skills as a guitar player. And after about a year and a half, I realized this is no way to live your life, man.
It feels like that's like a hard life on the road.
Yeah, it was fun, though.
Yeah.
But after a year and a half,
you get broads doing that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. But
Groupies?
I had a girlfriend at the time, but there were plenty of girls around. Trust me.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Venereal disease was around too.
Yeah, sure. Penicillin, your best friend.
But nothing that killed anybody. But
that's right.
It was fun, and for me, it was mostly playing the guitar was what I wanted to do. And when I left Reading and got in that band, this band was called The Uproar, by the way. They're still kind of known up there.
Wow.
When I left Reading, I was a kid that played guitar. And a year and a half later, when I got back to Reading, I was a professional guitar player.
Yeah.
Because I had played almost every night, 400 or 500 nights in a row. And that's how you develop your skills. That's what it takes. It really takes every night.
So was there a thought? I mean, I assume any kid that picks up the guitar, I never picked it up once, but any kid that picks up a guitar and really is going to make it a go, there's some dream that they want to become the next, you name the greatest guitar player, be in a great band. Did you ever want to be in a great original band?
Of course I would have wanted to be in a great band.
Yeah.
But
you
you know,
opportunity?
that's I had an audition for Chicago when Terry Kath unfortunately took his own life.
Yeah. Wow.
And I could play all those tunes pretty decently. And the audition was a William Morris agency in New York. And the band I was with had a gig that night in some crummy bar somewhere, so I couldn't go. So I didn't even go. But it required a lot of singing, and I wouldn't have been a strong enough singer for the part anyway. They wanted more of a singer than a guitar player, it turned out at the time. I found out later.
And then Peter Cetera was brought on instead of Fred Bernardo.
You know? Well, no, he was there as the bass player. This was Terry Kath that had left. And those were big shoes to fill, both as a singer and a guitar player.
Yeah.
So, Jimi Hendrix called him the greatest rock and roll guitar player. So he was a pretty good guitar player.
When do you meet your wife?
So this is my second wife I'm with now.
All right. Yeah.
We got together about 25 years ago or so, just give or take. I have 2 children from my first wife, and my son has 2 grandchildren. They're about 10 and 12 years old-ish. And my wife and I are very happy here. We're in Reading, Pennsylvania, suburbs of Reading, Pennsylvania, near Shillington, Pennsylvania.
Tropical.
I used to say beautiful downtown Shillington on my videos, and then I would have to add, of course, it's not beautiful and there's no downtown. You know, people would come into the store and say, we drove past like 6 times because we were looking for downtown.
You're on Main Street, pal. You drove past it 8 times.
Well, I stole that line from Johnny Carson. He used to say beautiful downtown Burbank or something on his show.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was it. I was a professional guitar player. And then I realized.
With the first marriage, was it just like, young and grew apart kind of a thing, or weirder than that?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I'd say so. Had a couple of kids and blah, 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 blah. And then it wasn't happening anymore.
Yeah.
And by chance, I sort of casually knew my current wife, and it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me meeting her, getting together with her. So everything worked out just great. Just great.
We'll dive into this. We got a minute before we break here, but how does your business start to form? Not the barbecue business, because I assume the guitar business was first before the guitar stuff. So or the barbecue stuff. So how does guitar business start? Yeah,
so I came off the road. I decided that this was no way to make to have a life being on the road. So I left the band and came back to Reading, and I just had the idea that there were 5 music stores in Reading, Pennsylvania, and none of them had the kind of gear that musicians wanted. They were all like old piano organ, mom and pop. Some of them had refrigerators. And I thought, we need a specialty guitar store. And I didn't have any money, but I had this idea. So I rented a storefront downtown in a pretty bad neighborhood for $35 a month. And I got the lease, $35 a month. I remember I took my dad and showed it to my dad, and he said, "You didn't pay $35 for this. You got ripped off." Anyway, $35 a month. I hung my spare guitar on the wall to sell. I got some samples from some companies. I put them out and sold them. And then, sell guitars. Sell 1, buy 2. Sell 2, buy 3. Sell 3, buy 5. And turned into a pretty big business for me. I was at that location for 13 years. A couple years later, bought the building. That's how I did it. It seems like it would be impossible, but I did it.
What year do you come off the road and get the business started?
72. I opened the store in September of 72.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. $35. I don't know. And what's interesting is, so I was about 19, 20 years old. My son has a major bicycle shop here in the area. And he started when he was 19 or 20 by himself. Now there he had me to give him, help him out with a couple bucks. But he's still a one man show and has a. I mean, if you're a serious bicycle rider, you go to him.
Oh, yeah?
He's your man.
All right.
You know, he's in the business about over 20 years now already.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, being a musician didn't look like a very good way to do things, so I opened a store, and then I played gigs at night, various bands.
Let's pause here. We'll finish up with music, and then we'll figure out how barbecue wormed its way into the music world, and then they really kind of separated, and you had the music store and the barbecue supply store. So we'll talk about that here in a second. Give me 2 minutes here. We'll be right back with Fred Bernardo as we're getting his origin story here, as he is part of the 2024's Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame. Oh, what did I do with it? Here we go. So for the second time in maybe a month and a half, we have new information from Pits and Spits unveiling their cutting-edge built-in pellet grill. That's right. Out of Houston, Texas, excited to announce the launch of its groundbreaking built-in pellet grill, a revolutionary addition designed to elevate outdoor cooking with unparalleled precision and convenience. The new grill merging cutting-edge technology with robust construction, setting a new standard for grilling excellence. Crafted in that prototypical 304 stainless steel that you've come to know and love from Pits and Spits, the built-in pellet grill boasts a sleek, fully welded design that promises both durability, longevity. The grill features the iconic Pits and Spits roll-top lid and a strategically positioned rear smokestack to enhance user comfort by directing smoke away from the cooking area. Notable features, of course, the aforementioned 304 stainless steel construction, advanced touchscreen and wireless controller, integrated 18-pound pellet hopper with a front-load design with innovative lid lock mechanism to keep moisture at bay, the heat spreader, deflector plate, trapdoor drip pan, and removable grease chute, modular grading system, and silicone nitride hot rod rated for 100,000 cycles, delivering reliable, consistent ignition. The Pits and Spits built-in pellet grill now available for purchase over at pitsandspits.com. With over 40 years of expertise in creating high-quality smokers, grills, and accessories, Pits and Spits remains at the forefront of innovation in outdoor cooking. The diverse range of products from traditional offset smokers to advanced wood pellet grills reflect their commitment to excellence and enhance every grilling experience. Pitsandspits.com is the website. That's pitsandspits.com, and it's the double T on the pits and the spits. So if you're in the market for a built-in pellet grill, you can now consider Pits and Spits at the top of your list. We're back with more Fred Bernardo right after this. Stick around, be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard, makers of Fireboard 2, Fireboard Pro, Fireboard Spark, Fireboard Beacon, and the new Fireboard Pulse. When you use the Fireboard app, you have total access to all devices anywhere in the world. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call with your questions, 816-945-2232. And Fred Bernardo joins us for the second portion of the hour. So the guitar business seems to be going swimmingly. You buy the building that you were renting for $35 a month. Where does barbecue start to seep into this?
Well, I bought that building, and I was there for 13 years. Then I moved to the suburbs with my store and grew the business. And, well, I forget what the year was, but one year for Christmas, my wife we saw one of the barbecue competition things, one of the TV shows, one of the early TV shows.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Bull was on it. And,
so it was
I think
probably
maybe
Barbecue Pitmasters, but like 3 or 4 iterations before that. So Chris
was the
Lilly was
very
probably
early
on
one, like,
there, and Leanne Whippen and Mike Davis.
she
Yeah.
was on it.
Yep.
Anyway, for Christmas, my wife never knew what to buy me because if I want something, I just go buy it. So I'm kind of hard to buy for.
Yeah.
And she got the idea to buy me a smoker, and she started asking around because she didn't know anything about smokers. And somebody said to her, "You should just get him a big green egg." And it's like, what's that thing? And she found the dealer, and she went and she bought me a big green egg. And I think right after Christmas, I told my buddy I got this thing, and he showed up at my house. It was my accountant and my buddy. Showed up at my house with a pork butt, one morning, and he said, "Put this thing on that grill." So I put it on there overnight. I looked on the web or somewhere, told me how to do it, make it 250 degrees, put the rub on it, blah, 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 put the smoky wood in there, leave it in there. And I remember it was a winter night, and it was like freezing rain, and I had it on the back deck, sort of. And before I went to bed, I remember looking out and thinking, that thing's frozen solid, and went to bed. And I got up in the morning, and I opened up the back door, and I called my wife, and I said, "It smells like an Oklahoma pig roast out here." We opened this thing up, and this hunk of pork was like, whoa, I brought that thing in. The house, and we started literally yanking pieces of pork off there, eating it.
Yeah.
It was like I called my buddy up and said, "Dude, you have got to come over here. That this is like the best piece of meat I ever ate in my life. You have got to come over here." He ran over, and we were like tearing this thing apart, eating it, this pork butt.
Wow.
Anyway, and that was kind of the start of it, and I was having trouble. The music business has gone through some phases, and, dealers dealing with manufacturers is always a hassle. And
Yep.
the Fender Guitar Company was giving me a lot of hassle. I had been a dealer there since 1975, and they got a new rep, and he, of course, gets the pressure put on him to sell more stuff. And he calls me up, and he says, "You got to buy like a lot more stuff this year." And I said, "Well, I bought a lot like last year and the year before, and I'm loaded. I am loaded for bear. Last thing I need to do is buy more." And he said, "If you don't buy this amount," and it was a huge number, "I'm going to have to drop you as a dealer." This is after like 35 years of being loyal. I learned later that this is in all businesses. Anyway,
Yeah.
I hung up the phone, and I told him I had a right-hand man, Toby, and I said, "Toby, guess what so-and-so just said to me?" I told him, and he said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to start selling grills." Oh, I said, "We're going to start selling smokers." And he thought I meant like cigars or something.
Yeah.
Smokers? I said, "Yeah, like grills." And he said, "Really?" And I said, "Yep. We need something else to fall back on around here, so we're not dependent on a couple of guitar companies."
Yeah.
And I cleaned out the one. I had 2 buildings side by side, kind of shared. Cleaned the one out. And in went the big green eggs and various other stuff, and we started selling the stuff right away. Nobody was selling that stuff.
What
And,
year do you think?
They're good. I don't know.
Like early 2000s?
No, it was later than that. So I retired 7 years ago, I think. And it was probably, I think some of my videos are 15 years old almost. So it might have been 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So when is that? 2010, maybe?
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, that was the start of it. In came the big green eggs. I called up the big green egg rep. He had nobody was giving him any action at all. So he was happy to have. I mean, I was just loaded up with those things. I knew I could sell them. And I sold a big green egg to like everybody in town. I sold big green eggs to some of my guys that are now my buddies, that these guys literally could not boil water and put a hot dog in it. And next thing you know, they're smoking briskets. So I sold a lot of big green eggs.
Did you bring?
And then
in,
I got into pellet grills.
How do you know? It's so you see a lot of barbecue supply companies out there nowadays. Some of them have branched into regional chains or local chains where they got a number. There's a guy down in Houston that's got 5 or 6 stores around Houston area. I mean, it's a big metropolitan area. But back in 2010, how do you know what to bring in? Who are you consulting from there's business acumen that needs to, and expertise that needs to take place to make sure you're making money.
Well, you know what I discovered? And same thing, my employees selling grills were the guys that were selling guitars, the musicians. And it turns out it's just gearheads. You know, if you're a gearhead for one thing, you can be a gearhead for the other thing. I mean, the guys that were guitar players selling guitar gear, they started selling Big Green Eggs like it was nothing, you know, because it was just another piece of gear. You learned how to work it. You knew all its ins and outs. You knew how to sell it, and they just started going. Then I got some pellet grills, and I got, hell, I don't remember all the stuff I had. I had a lot of stuff. You know,
what
and
brand
then,
of pellet
all the
grills were you
rubs.
running back then?
Traegers.
Traegers, yeah.
Traegers. Yeah, that was the only thing around. They were made in the U.S. They were made in like the Northwest somewhere.
Yeah, out in Oregon.
And it was still the Traeger family, I think, as a matter of fact. And then Green Mountain, I got contacted by the Green Mountain guy, who I talked to. His son actually runs the company now, and I talk to him from time to time. Jason Baker, yeah.
Yep.
And he took that Traeger grill and just like did all the things that Traeger should have did at that time. Made it bigger, made the pellet hopper bigger, you know. I guess he made it overseas, so it was much cheaper. And we started selling those things. You know, I sold a lot of those things. And then one day, it's funny because at one point, my wife, years before that, had said something about we ought to sell everything we own and go on the road being a barbecue competition team. Which is, if you knew my wife, that's not the daring part about going on the road and stuff is her, but she didn't have any interest in barbecue. You know, it was just a random thought. And years later, here I am with this barbecue thing. And one of my buddies said to me, we ought to put a team together and go get in them contests, you know? Well, that was all I needed. That was all I needed, you know? So we did one contest. We loaded up my van with a couple pellet grills. We did one and we did okay at it. And that was it. Well, that was all I needed, man. We were into it big time. Next thing you know, we had the RV barbecue one, you know, and we were pulling a Jambo, you know, the whole deal. That's how it went. I mean, that's a crazy thing. You know, you spend a lot of money and what do you get? It's almost like being in a band.
I was going to say, you're doing it because you're passionate. You were passionate about playing the guitar, and now you're passionate about doing barbecue. The thing, so I called you a Renaissance man in the show open because back then there were few people doing what you were doing. So, I mean, there was a fair amount of people getting into the rub and sauce game, but you were like, it was you and Kevin Bevington from Home BBQ that I remember just being prolific rub makers, all different flavors for different everything. And then you came out with the sauce, and you were unique in the fact that your original sauce and the original rub, the rub was in the sauce. It was like so easily compatible across, not like
that was
stuck
a kind
with
of
me forever.
brilliant idea. Don't you think?
I mean, not a lot of other people were
idea?
doing that. Like, it made total sense. You're like, hey, we're using the same spice block here in the sauce. It's all going to mix and match together. Made perfect sense.
Plus, it was already mixed. You know, I just sent the rub to the sauce company, and they dumped it in with the rest of the ingredients. Speaking of the rubs, here I have it. Can I turn it? I don't know which way to turn it here.
The tree hugger rub. Turn it the other way.
Tree hugger.
Yeah, one of my favorites. One of my favorites.
Tree hugger. The last remaining bottle. The last remaining jug of tree hugger.
Wow.
You know?
How old is that?
That was the veggie rub. Oh, it's 7 or 8 years old.
That was one of my favorite rubs.
If it's sealed, as long as it has that seal on the top, it keeps its freshness.
Yeah.
So I just opened this one last week. So this will start losing its freshness because this has a lot of garlicky. It's actually salt that garlic oil is sprayed on, and it's really an intense garlic smell. But then it starts losing it. But I do have a substitute for anybody who wants tree hugger. Can I announce it right here on the show?
Would you call this a breaking news update?
This would be breaking news. I got a bigger one for you then. But this is a little mini. This is a teaser.
Barbecue Central Show exclusive news update.
We'll do it. Greg Rampy reporting
That's
from
right.
Breaking's News Desk here in Cleveland, Ohio, going to Fred Bernardo filing this report.
Right. If you like tree hugger, you can't get it anywhere, obviously. It's off the market. I took it off the market. So what you can do is this is an herbed garlic salt. So I checked around and tested a couple of things. And Lawry's, Lawrys, they have an herbed garlic salt. And it's almost identical to this. And you can get it at I think you can probably get it on Amazon or Walmart or something. Sam's Club, maybe.
Herbed garlic
I don't
salt
know.
from Lowry's.
Herbed garlic salt. It has like a green label, I think.
Yeah, probably.
And I tried a whole bunch of different ones and of different garlic salts, and that one was like it even looked like this. Had like little bits of, because this has herbs in it. So if you can't get Tree Hugger, now you know what you can get in place of it. How you like that?
That's a good hack, as we say.
Yeah, it is a hack. That's a hack. That was a hack before hacks were born.
We used to use that all the time on so potatoes going on the grill, and then whenever I would grill asparagus, it was always getting clobbered with Tree Hugger rub. My wife loved Tree Hugger rub.
And if you do chicken, if you put a little bit of dried rosemary, like I would take the rosemary and grind it in my hand so it was not quite as big sticks, so the sticks would break, and put it with this. Perfect. As a matter of fact, it tastes exactly like my mother's roast chicken. Rosemary and this stuff.
When did you realize there was going to be value in shooting videos and putting them on YouTube? Because you were way ahead of the time on that.
Oh boy, if I only would have kept it up. I don't know.
You could be Malcolm
We just started
Reed,
doing
Fred.
it. I could be Joe Rogan. We just started doing it, and I would do it. Well, and the concept was without thinking about it. I never planned it, but it became like a comedy cooking show.
Yes.
And without thinking about it, I just started doing it, and now that you mentioned it, I can't remember what made me start doing it. And then we would do it every Saturday, well, then it became a sales tool, So on a Saturday, I'd go into the store and I'd say to the guys, what do we need to sell? What do we got that we need to sell? And they'd say, well, this chicken rack. I'd say, okay, somebody go get me some chicken. They'd go to the store and get some chicken, and we'd fire up some grills out in front of the store, and I'd start shooting the video of this chicken with this chicken rack. But all along the way, I'm selling now, Tree Hugger, put Tree Hugger on it, and then here's the chicken, here's the rack, here's the grabber thingers, here's the drip pan, and they were all on the website, and I'd put links to the website below. And I don't know if you remember any of those videos, but then at the end, I'd have the tasting session. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Innocent bystanders.
Yeah, innocent bystanders. Yeah.
Well, I'd say I got some innocent bystanders. Anyway, people would come into my store on the weekends from like Cincinnati, New England, Europe, and they'd come in and say, we want to be innocent bystanders. I'd say, sure, just wait over there. The chicken's almost done.
Wow.
And I'd get them up and I'd line them up behind me. And if I didn't have any innocent bystanders, it would all be employees back there,
right?
Lined up.
Well, you mentioned Toby was your right-hand guy in the music store, but I remember you calling Toby's name out during the cooking videos.
Yeah, a lot of times he was doing the filming, but that's what it was for. It morphed into, we got this thing we want to sell. Let's shoot a video, and yeah, I was getting a lot of hits. And as a matter of fact, this is another announcement. I just started posting videos again. I got a little ambitious and I posted about a half a dozen of them last week. I've been on this keto diet thing for the last few years.
Yeah.
So I posted some videos of some cooking of that kind of stuff. I did a steak on a big green egg. I did some tomato salad last week. And so there are a bunch of videos going up. The video, the YouTube, my homepage is the home of the smoking guitar player. And all the old ones are still on there. All the legacy ones are on there. So
I have somebody in the instant chat, Diane Me from the West Coast, actually, who knows you because she's saying, oh, please make him sing Barbecue One, the song that you debuted on my show 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Is he still making pizza? Because evidently she remembers pizza was pretty big in your videos back then.
I had about a year where I did pizzas. I flew out to Tony Gemignani's school in San Francisco, and then I was doing pizzas on the egg. I mean, I got really good at it. I was selling brick ovens, but unfortunately, I don't even remember the Barbecue One song. I don't remember that, but I was doing pizzas. We were doing all kinds of pizza stuff, sauces. I was doing classes, videos all over the place, and those videos are still on there, and some of them they're pretty good pizza videos. I developed a method. I kept calling Tony back and forth and working on this. An easy way of making pizza in one bowl, making the dough in one bowl so you didn't have a mess. It took about half an hour, and real artisanal pizza dough.
Yeah.
And then the sauce, same deal with the sauce, and sometimes I put Tree Hugger in the sauce, of course. Remember, more is better. Put a lot of it in there. That way I sell more.
Why?
And
you said you retired 7 years ago.
about 7 years ago.
Why do you get out of it? You just had enough?
It's funny. I'm like all or nothing. Like I've always been all or nothing. Like I have a couple hobbies now, and it's all or nothing.
Are you a clay shooter?
I'm a clay shooter. Yeah, sporting clays. I'm an instructor. I'm a certified instructor.
Is that what you're into now?
Oh, it's one of the things.
Yeah.
About 4 or 5 years ago, one of my buddies who was just retiring. There were 3 or 4 of us that retired at one time. Here, wait. Let me do this. This is our group hat, the Raptors, retired area professionals turned redneck. Retired area professionals turned redneck. Because we were like fishing and hunting and shooting guns and stuff. But my one buddy said, let's go down to the gun club and shoot some trap with shotguns. So we all went out and bought cheap shotguns. And we went and we shot trap. And, man, I used to do it when I was younger. And, man, I was terrible at it. I mean, absolutely terrible. I couldn't figure out why I was so bad,
Were you using the wrong eye to line it up?
I was aiming, and I was even saying to my buddies, I don't understand it. I'm aimed right at it. Why am I not hitting it? So finally, in frustration, after 3 or 4 weeks of trying to shoot these clays on a trap field, there's a lot of trap shooting around here, I called up a local guy who was an instructor. I saw his name on National Sporting Clays Association list. Called him up. He said, get a case of shells and meet me at the Sporting Clays place. Well, I don't even know what it was. And I said to my buddy, a case of shells? Does he mean a case? That's like 250 shells. Oh, well, I don't know. So I bought a case of shells and I went up there and I shot about 200 of them that day.
Wow.
And he said to me, look at the clay, not the sights on the gun, like a baseball when you're hitting a baseball. And it was like a revelation. And then since there, I've had lessons from some of the world champions, and I shoot regularly. I shoot every weekend. I shoot sometimes midweek. I was up practicing yesterday.
I'm going to shoot sporting clays for the first time tomorrow for some team building event at work.
Like a charity event or a team building thing?
Just team building.
You'll have fun.
It's my boss and me and the 2 other guys that hold director positions at the company I work for.
Yeah, well, you want me to tell you how to do it?
Look at the clay.
Look at the clay.
Yeah.
Look at the clay.
I'm glad we met up. I'm glad we reconnected tonight. That way I can be an ace tomorrow.
Just remember to put the gun against your face.
Yeah.
And look at the clay.
All right.
And you'll be surprised, and they'll wonder how you hit them. But yeah, a year and a half ago, I flew to Florida. There's a high level instructor down there that had 12 people and got us certified as, level, they call us level 1 instructors. It's like beginner to intermediate.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that. And luckily that gets me out of the house, keeps me moving. I made new friends. I've got some buddies. I get more sunshine than I got in 40 years, the last 5 years, because I'm out in the sporting clays course.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's, I do it 100% or nothing. And, I decided to lose some weight 6 months ago or so, and I went on this carnivore diet, and I'm down 60 pounds. And same thing, all or nothing. Like, I won't cheat. I will not cheat. I will not eat a piece of a cookie. Ain't going to have it.
Yeah.
And then I started cooking all that stuff too. So it kind of ties in. Meat, happens to be a good barbecue thing for videos.
Indeed. Everybody loves it.
Love that. Love them ribeyes.
Fred, this has been
so that's what I've been up to.
An incredible joy and honor for me to get back in touch with you, get caught up, get to know where Fred came from, what it was like. I figured music was a big part of it, but hearing you were actually in a traveling band, something I didn't know about, and then always tried to figure out how we connect music supply and barbecue supply, but it all makes sense at this point. So,
do you play? Do you play an instrument?
No. I
still do it. I still work some gigs.
For a fleeting moment, I played.
You should learn to play guitar.
Cello. I played the cello.
No. That's
they
hard.
used to call me Young Yo-Yo Ma back in the day.
Oh yes, that thing's hard. You need to learn to play guitar. Guitar is easy.
Well,
but I've played every kind of gig. I've played with Greek bands and Broadway show musicals in the pit with orchestras, and I play a duo with a guy with a mandolin player. We play Italian music now from time to time. So I've always been like the on-call guitar player around here, because I wasn't with a steady band because I didn't want to do that. So if somebody needs me, they call me, I go play.
For hire, the smoking guitar player.
Sort of for hire, yeah. That's it. The smoking
sort of
guitar player.
All right. Fred, really appreciate the conversation here tonight. It's been my honor, and always appreciated your support of the show over the years. Okay.
Here it comes.
Forgot that was on
what happened to the
automation.
Theme song?
Partial automation.
What happened to the theme song? You didn't play the theme song.
Oh, yeah, I lost it somewhere.
I sent you the file.
I know.
Oh, well.
Maybe in the second hour I'll play it as a tribute as we walk off here.
You can play it as a tribute. Yeah, it's not me playing on there, by the way. It's some Nashville dude, but thank you very much.
It's the essence of what people think of when it would
right.
be your
That's
walk-up
right.
song if we were, going to put you at bat,
It's going to be my walk-off song right now.
That's right. Fred, appreciate the time tonight. Thanks so much for doing it.
Greg, it was fantastic talking to you again and remembering those times.
You got it.
Seriously.
There
Keep
he
in
is.
touch.
Fred Bernardo right there, a 2024 Barbecue Hall of Fame inductee, along with the likes of Steve Ray, Chris Young, Matt Frampton. By the way, the rings have been ordered, and I just got a note today that indeed they have been shipped as well. So soon enough, we'll be shipping those rings out to the 2024 Barbecue Hall of Fame class, guest Hall of Fame class. So looking forward to that. Wow, that was great. All right, so I'm trying to think of where that thing came in from. Let's keep that. Oh, boy. Well, this could be a nightmare, but we might be able to save it. Hey, all right, we did that. All right, Fred Bernardo right there, the smoking guitar player. Great to see Diane Me making call-outs from the last time Fred was on, or when she was obviously used to probably visit his website. Maybe she was a customer. Is he still making pizzas? Sing Barbecue One. I think those were the only lyrics. Barbecue One. Barbecue One. He doesn't remember those lyrics? Speaking of ceramic cookers and not the big green egg, what do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they're fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We love that you can get rip-roaring hot for the high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts, but what's missing in the everyday lineup of ceramic cookers? The real ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking is very important to both professional and backyard cooks. It's the best way to manage a fire, cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker is not very realistic because it's round. Enter Primo in the game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute that two-zone setup that you desire. Also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. When you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to configure the Primo cooker. So you're only limited by your culinary imagination. Sold through dealers only, so you have to visit a dealer in order for you to really get the feel of it. See these different oval sizes in person. Best ceramics in the biz? Yes. Patented technology? You betcha. True two-zone cooking capabilities with multiple sizes? Yes and yes. Visit primogrill.com to find a dealer near you. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram. All right, we'll wrap the show. We'll wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is John Dawson of Patio Daddy-O Barbecue in Boise, Idaho, and I've got it locked on the 50,000 gigawatt blowtorch of the internet that is Barbecue Central.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Diane Me weighing in once again, saying if I would have dropped by the store back then if I had ever been to Shilling, Pennsylvania, or if she had ever had occasion to be in Shillington, Pennsylvania. I don't know why many people would have occasion to be in Shillington, Pennsylvania, unless you were going to Fred's Music Supply or Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply. In the beginning, it was Fred's Music and Tasty Licks Supply. Or maybe it was Fred's Music and Barbecue Supply. It was one or the other, and then they separated them out at some point. All right, we're 4 to 5 minutes over the top of the hour. We got to do an abridged open, and then we have guests to get to in the second hour as well. Once again, I appreciate Fred Bernardo for taking the time and doing the first hour, the origin story. One of five that will happen here hopefully before the year ends or as we crest into 2025. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central show. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how you doing?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet for wieners.
But listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
All right, just like that, we are into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central show. We're getting a lot of email right now going, where's that theme song? All right, don't get freaked out. I'm going to play you the theme song for Fred's Music, or from Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply. This is the one that he used to run right after he would do the intro, like, oh, this is Fred, we're going to do pizza, let's go. And then he would play the song that I'm about to play you. But if you're watching, if you're listening, doesn't matter because you don't see anything anyway. But you're going to see a screen go black. I had to do this very quickly as we were transitioning first to second hour. So even though you're going to see a black screen, don't go nuts. Everything is fine. I'll be right here. But this is the theme. Here we go. How about that? Fred's Music. The theme song. He's right. I should have been better at my production. Should have had that on there ready for him to go. Interviewing, like bringing him in. That's great walk-up music. He used to have one that was way longer than that, too. That was like the 20-second version or 25-second version. He said it's not him. I'm going to say Fred's being modest. I think that was Fred. Anywho, thanks again to Fred. Welcome to the second hour. The Barbecue Central show originates from
Palm City, USA, Cleveland.
Still to come on the show this evening. In about 5 minutes from now, Just Priles, justpriles.com, hardcorecarnivore.com. You will also see Wes Wright coming out of the bullpen here this evening. And checking to see, it's not going very well for the Gardos. Down 4-2 in the seventh. We say good evening to those of you tonight watching through one of our video streaming platforms, facebook.com/BBQ Central Show or twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. Some of you are also watching on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show. We do have a YouTube poll question of the week, and we're asking everybody this. Is it time to boot Meathead off the show? 2 no-shows is too many. 68% of you are indeed saying no. You are not booting him off the show. 32% of you are saying that. We're right about running where our voting number starts to fall off at, so it looks like Meathead's safe in the vote. But as I had mentioned in the show open, in 2025, Meathead going from a monthly to a quarterly, and we have a lot of great other experts. Somebody in the chat said having Chris Young 1 month, Meathead in the next month, Steven Reichlin in the next month. I mean, holy moly, right there, it's 3 Barbecue Central Show guest Hall of Famers. That'd be a great quarter. Of course, the 3rd Tuesday of the month, great quarter guests. Got one coming up here in a few short moments, being Jess Pryles. So I will continue to tinker and refine and retool, if necessary, the show to keep it live, local, and late breaking. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this coming Friday, episode 355, taking you back to September 18th of 2018, featuring a guy who many considered to be the greatest of all time when it comes to competition barbecue. In fact, he does refer to himself as the GOAT from time to time. Some of his social handles reflect the same moniker. I believe his Instagram is GOAT of BBQ. Darren Worth from Iowa Smoky D's joined me back in 2018, and we talked about him winning the American Royal that year. I believe it was his 3rd win at the Royal, so we talked about how he grades them, if one is more meaningful than the other, fun stuff like that. I love when I get to ask these guys that win multiple big titles, especially at the same event year over year over year, which one is more meaningful to you? Which kid do you like better? So if you don't know Darren, if you don't know anything about competition barbecue or the greats that it has spawned over its lifetime, this is a segment you're going to want to catch this coming Friday. You do have to be subscribed to the show podcast feed in order to get the Best Moments show. You can do that by visiting thebbqcentralshow.com/subscribe. You can also just go to your favorite podcast catcher or platform and type in, when you search The BBQ Central Show, and there it will be in all of its 1,600 episode glory at the current time, starting all the way back February 7th of 2008. If it doesn't start all the way back in 2008, then you're in the wrong feed, Jack. So make sure you're paying attention. Don't forget, if you do want to hear a guest or a segment that you think has been lost in the archives one more time, email John, let him know you'd like to hear. And John, of course, is Jon, John at thebbqcentralshow.com. Let him know you'd like to hear, and he'll do his best to meet your expectation quickly, because I don't know if you knew it or not, but I will continue to follow the big named contest over the course of the year. The Jack Daniels took place this past weekend ahead of the American Royal, which I don't recall ever happening. They moved the Royal date back this year. Why was that again? Diane, why did they move the Royal back 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it was? I forget why, but I did know they were moving it back later than normal, much to the chagrin of many, because it's going to be cold. Top 10, and in particular order, number 10, Chunky Barbecue. Number 9, Pigs and Cows Gone Wild. Number 8, Hot Coals Barbecue. Number 7, LC BBQ. Number 6, Hot Daddy's Barbecue. Number 5, Loot and Booty Barbecue. Shout out to Sterling Smith there. Number 4, Triple H Barbecue. And no, he's not a wrestling fan. Number 3, Razorbacks Barbecue. Reserve Grand, or second place, Janky Leg Barbecue, who was caught up in that horrific American Royal Open scoring fiasco of last year, as you would recall, and then winning it. The whole damn thing. Scuffletown Smokers.
Hey, everybody! Can I trouble you for a hoya?
Oh, yeah. Jamo! So congratulations to Scuffletown on winning the Jack Daniel's World Championship barbecue competition. Diane thinks it was a race car schedule. Race car? Yeah, right, because they're at the Kansas Motor Speedway, of course. Would make perfect sense to me, but what do I know? All right, let's get out of here. Make sure that we have time or that we are coming back into proper time with Jess Pryles. Before we get to her, we'll talk about Franklin Barbecue Pits. Why not? The backyard version of the famed pit built by Aaron Franklin for his renowned barbecue restaurant in Austin, Texas, called Franklin Barbecue. What you have with the Franklin Pit, a deeply thought out and refined version of the old propane-style cooker. Stylistically, it reflects the kind of bare-bones, industrial, handmade aesthetic that Aaron loves, as in the patina, and the way the build allows you to see the welds in the craftsmanship. Franklin barbecue pits are made primarily of quarter-inch thick American-made steel. Anything that sees heat, engineered... I totally lost my place. I should have it memorized by now, right? Anything that sees heat, engineered to be incredibly solid, should last at least a century or more if cared for properly. The thickness of the steel guarantees professional-grade heat retention, which is a critical component to making great barbecue. Every Franklin pit unique unto itself, which includes its own natural markings and its own badged number. Only sold through certified Franklin dealers if you want to see them live and in person. You find a dealer near you by visiting franklinbbqpits.com. If, by chance, you are a owner of said barbecue supply store and you're looking to carry a premium offset cooker, look no further than trying to become a Franklin Barbecue Pit certified dealer. franklinbbqpits.com, the place to go to fill out the dealer form. If you, the listener of the show, aren't near said dealer, nowhere near, you can order one online. Go DTC, franklinbbqpits.com, order Franklin Barbecue Pit, and Franklin Pits will ship a Franklin Pit right to your driveway. Easy. Either way, the website works for those that are in business to make money and become a pit dealer, franklinbbqpits.com, or if you just want to buy, franklinbbqpits.com. We're back with Jess Pryles right after this. Stick around, I'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And this portion being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Available in 3 sizes, a host of accessories to complete your pit barrel cooking experience. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a professional, it's just a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. First guest this evening is the CEO of the Hardcore Carnivore brand of products, a recipe creator at her namesake website, jessapryles.com. And for the last time here this evening, quarterly guest of 2024, which he has been doing for a handful of years, our pal Jess Pryles. Hey, Jess.
I got to admit, Greg, I'm a little nervous when you introduce it as last quarterly guest, but then I realized you were just talking about the year. So I feel confident about my
right. I mean,
feel
look,
confident about my 2025
I would never assume that you're just going to re-up without the ask. I always want to make the ask because who knows? Things could come up, interest
I know,
could
but
dwindle.
you know, I get excited. Like it's a thing now. You
Is it
know,
like
it's
therapy?
probably a highlight on the resume, honestly.
Let's just take off probably.
Very much so. And if I keep getting these musical questions right, I'll feel even better about
Oh,
it.
you can't wait until the end of this segment. I
I'm
can
so
guarantee
excited.
you. And it is not Def Leppard. I can tell you that right
Thank
off the
God.
rip. It's not Def
Thank
Leppard.
God.
We do have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody,
yes.
including all guests. Is it time to boot Meathead off the show because 2 no-shows is too many? Yes or no?
That sounds like a personal question. I mean, he's got decades of experience. So 2 no-shows compared to decades of experience, not sure. I feel like I've done it to you at least twice, and you've got me here over the years.
We'll take it as a no.
But here we are.
We'll take it as a no. All right, so 69%
Sorry, I thought
of
you
the
liked
voting
really
public.
long, drawn-out answers.
It is yes or no, but drawn out is certainly your
Apologies.
prerogative. No problem. So, how's the taping finish for season 2 of Hardcore Carnivore, the TV show? Are you still taping?
We're still going.
I thought I read
We're
on the
still going.
socials that you were finishing up season 2.
No, we have got 7 episodes in the can out of 10, and we had to wait for hunting season to start to do the last 3 because there's always some hunting in the show. And so we'll be doing a run in November to finish off season 2.
Wow.
Yay. Have you seen it yet? Be honest. He hasn't seen it yet.
Why you want to ask that question? You know,
It's
I'm going
okay.
to
You
tell
don't
you
ask
one way
me
or
if
the
I
other.
listen to the show.
But
it's
I've
easy.
asked you, so I would never. Why do I want to put myself through heartache and pain? I listen.
Look, in fairness, I will say this: it's for all those uninitiated. It's on the Outdoor Channel, which can be a little tricky to find. But once you do, I assure you, it's worth it.
So I was thinking in my head, how does this play out if like 50% of me thinks is she going to ask and the other 50% says she's not going to ask that? And then I'm like,
It's a
well,
yes
she
or no
does,
answer.
right? So no. Now, in my defense, I don't watch television. So if the TV's on, it's something that Becky has put on. So that means 2 things. Either Impractical Jokers on marathon loop, and I've seen every episode 847,000 times, so I know them all by heart.
Awful.
Or it's the murder shows. So a recounting of a terrible murder that took place in 2016, giving you all the
So she listens to a lot
backstory.
of murder
All that
podcasts?
stuff. Yeah. So I was having a conversation with my parents a week ago, and I said, what I've come to find out watching these shows is that, even tracing back to as far as like 2006, you just can't go around killing people anymore and get away with it. It is virtually impossible, especially
That's
nowadays.
what they'll have you believe. Yes.
Well, look, we have. Oof, I don't want to pull the curtain back too far here, but like Becky and I will be talking about. Okay, let's say we want to kill somebody. How are we going to do it?
How would you do it?
And eventually, we get to like step 6 or 7. We're like, no, actually, if we look back on this, X, Y, and Z could get us in peril. And I mean, it's so hard. You just can't.
Which method got you the furthest along? Now I'm invested.
So
do you make it look like an accident, or do
no?
you just
I mean,
make sure they never
so the
fail?
easy part is like wiping somebody out. Like I'm just going to come. I'm just going to shoot you in your face. It's not.
It's
there's
everything
no
after
elaborate.
that.
It's getting to you, and then it's
And not
getting
being
away
seen?
from you. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Getting to you.
And also making sure
phone.
that my blood isn't on you.
Yeah, that's all easy stuff. It's getting to you. It's what car am I going to drive, or am I going to walk? Are there cameras around? There's cameras on every home.
There's a
Can't
Ring
bring your
doorbell
phone.
everywhere.
Yes, you can't bring your phone. Never go to Walmart if you're going to commit a crime. They have high res video all over the place. I mean,
Do you think they have facial recognition in
Yes.
Walmart and they haven't told us?
No, not facial rec, but their quality of video. The
you
cops
sure?
on the shows are saying, don't ever pull into a Walmart parking lot if you have committed a crime or you're going to commit a crime, because their level of quality of video, but they're always getting busted on there.
But why are they giving you that kind of help? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, people are. We could go into way deeper conspiracy talk about why people say what they say that have way deeper meaning than committing
Here's what
murder.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think, Greg, we've been talking for just shy of 10 minutes and have not yet talked about barbecue.
I know.
And it tells me that we need our own show where we just talk about how you can get away with murder.
Yes. I mean, I could
and
see,
songs from
6,
the
7 episodes coming out
We
of that
could
at
crush.
least. Yes.
Yeah.
Once a month release. I mean, that puts us out 8 months.
If you are currently listening to the show or you have access to this from a podcast, please find Greg on social media and tell him if he needs to start a second show.
Please. Yes. Well, look, I mean, inevitably, when Sam, the cooking guy, shows up, I get, you and Sam should start a podcast. And then I would say over the last year and a half, I get, Jess is great on the show. You and Jess should start a podcast. And then I have to explain to everybody why that's not going to happen. But at least it's, for
why
me,
isn't
maybe
that going to happen?
Oh, I mean, come on.
Okay.
Like you're so you're way busy. And then if I'm going to do it, like I know what it takes to do it. I'm doing it since 2008.
I was thinking about starting a podcast. We should do one.
I mean, there's a level of commitment that I'm going to expect that most people don't have.
Meathead doesn't have it.
I know. At least twice he doesn't have it. Right. But like being a guest is one thing. Doing a podcast is another thing. Like
it's a lot of work.
If you're really interested, we can have that conversation offline and then we can outline it. And then I really have to buy into your commitment on it because really that's what separates.
I mean,
certainly content. Backdrop. Yeah. You don't like Cleveland?
I like Cleveland for this show. I feel like we'd need something else.
Yeah, no problem. I got a green screen over there. I got the whole full production capabilities. Don't worry about it.
That's great.
So, all right, we can have this conversation.
Like an HR Geiger, keep people guessing. I know. We're just
So
think of this as testing the waters. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Gang feedback. Drop us an email. Let Jess know immediately. JessPriles.com.
Yeah.
She's got contact there, or me, or both, whatever.
I got the socials. We're always on there.
We can go ahead and figure it out. So you have a couple shows left to get season 2 in the can.
Yeah.
Season 2 was being shot before season 1 was even available for Gen Pop to start consuming and loving, which I've heard great things about.
Thank you.
Has there been any talk about a season 3 already, or is that getting ahead of the card? Yeah, too early.
Too early. We didn't know the network had season 1 in their possession for many, many months before we heard anything about season 2. But there are other shows that got offered a next season immediately. So there's no rhyme or reason. You have no idea what's going to happen. You have no idea if you're going to have a really quiet fall or be gone for 6 weeks filming a TV show. So, that's just life on the road, man. That's just how I do now.
For conversation's sake, do you think it would have made some kind of sense for the production company to see what feedback the fans have as season 1 unfolds and then cater to it a bit? Oh.
It's not the production company. It's Outdoor Channel. So Outdoor Channel are the ones who commissioned the show.
Yep.
And they are the ones who said, yeah, let's roll. Love it. Let's just do more. Let's do it again. So that's what happened. and it gives us a little bit more flexibility. I'm very proud of season 1. I'm proud of the show, period. But I am infinitely more excited about season 2. I got to push even further for the stuff that I'd like to show people.
Could you see season 6 and going, there's just a continued stream of new content that I can push out? Or at some point, do you think you're going to hit a repetition point?
No, I think there's always stories to be told. We cover so much, and the subject is meat in all its forms, right? So it could be hunting, it could be going to a ranch, it could be a meat science thing, it could be like spoiler alert, did a whole hog cook with Pat Martin for season 2. Like there's so many, and we've been driving around during these production shoots going, oh, what about that? What about that? What about that? Like there's so many cool stories you can tell all the way down the line. So, not worried about it.
Could you be the next?
Excited.
Could you be the next Guy Fieri as far as successful TV shows?
Yes, I could be.
Yeah,
but it would take you watching the show for you to tell me.
Really?
Possibly. I want to know what your opinion is.
All right, I'm going to.
You should do it.
All right, I'll do it.
Do it, Greg.
I will Watch it.
I
I
value
have to
your
watch.
opinion.
I have to watch the first one to see if you put shot on target for that elk, right, or moose or
Well,
whatever.
now
you
that
shot.
it's
Deer.
aired, it was an elk. It was a
Yeah, but I haven't
280
seen
yard
it, so
shot.
don't spoil it.
I can spoil it right now for you.
No,
if you'd
no.
like.
I said I haven't seen it.
Do you know that Chris was on last night's episode?
I
You
know.
might have
I
liked
saw
that
the.
one. The
I saw the social
mustache.
post. I follow you. No, it's not the mustache. It's stash. Number one.
I'm sorry.
And number two,
Apologies.
I do follow you on social media, so I knew that was going to happen. Of course. I even saw the little remind me thing underneath the social post. It was very diligent of you to have
you.
marked down there. Good job.
Sometimes I social real hard,
I have a
Not
question
always.
coming up about that, actually.
Oh, gosh.
Before that, do you care who won the Jack last weekend?
I'm happy for them.
I didn't ask that.
I am a little bit outside of the world of competition barbecue.
Do you care who wins the Royal coming up in a week or two or whatever?
That
it's
is
gonna be?
slightly less niche. So I feel like I usually hear, as someone who's outside of competition barbecue or very much on the very cusp, I hear about Memphis in May. I hear about usually the Royal, and being Texas based, you usually hear about the Houston Rodeo Cook-Off as well.
Yep. If you could travel anywhere in the world on the Barbecue Central show G550, but only for food, where are you going?
Do you want it to be somewhere I've been or haven't been before?
I guess it's just somewhere you're inspired to want to take my jet to go eat.
I'm going to Spain. Haven't been.
Wow.
And I'm going to try Rubia Gallega, like cattle in Extabari.
What is that?
It's going to be sick. It's a local breed in Spain of like a huge body animal, and they let them grow really old, much older than we do in the States. So the meat has a completely different flavor. I'm collecting beef experiences at this point in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about it. What I've learned, which is really cool, is we figured out the meat science behind a lot of American beef, but what we realize is there's a lot of other stuff out there that completely goes against what we think. Like, it's got to be this old to have the best results. And then you go to Italy and you have Bistecca Fiorentina with a Chianina cow that's completely different age and sex and has never had a baby. And you go, wow, this was a total different eating experience. Amazing. Kind of like beers being different, right? Or bourbon.
Most of the stuff here is you're being lied to. It's really just about money, right? You push it through, get it out there. Let's make money. We don't want to get those beef steers aged
You are
too
not
far.
you're not being lied to. You are dealing with a system who has found the most economic and yield productive way to feed the most amount of people.
Yield productive, good.
So
Very
it
nice.
is the opposite of a craft movement or a farmers markety kind of gourmet product. And there are gourmet products out there. But my God, I love a cheeseburger, and that wouldn't be possible without the system.
Yeah.
All right?
I'm going to make an observation about you through the lens of social media, and then you're going to tell me how accurate I am.
Stoked.
At some point in time, you decided to let people in via social media, specifically Instagram, to your life in a more, let's say, holistic sense. So now it's not just recipes with Jess or spokesperson Jess or business Jess. Now you get ready with Jess and maybe doing some makeup or fit check Jess and way more candid moments with you and Stash. This weird relationship that you have with tree rats that you're showing all the time on Instagram. Way more of a look at you in way more life scenarios. Why the change? Now, I don't know if you remember or not. When you first started coming on the show, I would ask you about, I wouldn't try and like force personal stuff, but it was a roundly rebuffed, let's go back to business. But, you know, especially in the last couple of years, it's been a different Jess.
This is probably one of the best questions you've asked me, and also one of the most insightful moments to just take that beat and think about it. So here's the thing. There's a couple of reasons. One, wait, I can't remember. Can I swear on the show or not?
This is the internet.
Great. I don't give a fuck because I'm really old, right? That's one. I got older, stopped giving a fuck. Two, the demand for content at the moment on creators is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And you've got some choices to make when you meet that demand. Now, there are a lot of incredible meat creators out there, and there are a lot of people trying to become meat creators. And they're usually white guys, and they're usually wearing a black t-shirt, and their background is usually quite dark in their videos. They're usually slapping their meat and involving ASMR. And if I asked you to name the difference between a lot of them, you probably couldn't, because while their videos are interesting, they're also quite homogenous. So it's become even more important now that nearly everybody is an influencer to stand out. So part of it is just the brutal, grueling need to post all the time or frequently. Part of it is like, fuck it, warts and all. And then part of it is, what by warts and all, I mean, yeah, I'll get on here without makeup and do this show or record a story or whatever. And then part of it is needing to stand out, not just for what you know, which I've proved, because I think you've asked a snake bitten question here. I think in the beginning of my career, as a woman in a male dominated industry, I was very dead set on showing people that I was where I was because I earned it. I know my shit. I know how to cook. I've done the research. I've done the study. So let's talk business. And now I don't have anything to prove to anyone anymore. So have the whole thing. Have at it. There's still some stuff. I don't share everything.
Sure.
But it's fun. It's also more fun that way for me.
Do the statistics bear out from an audience standpoint that they are increasingly more engaged since the shift?
I think so. Numbers are keeping on growing, which is a great thing. So it's happy days. But you never know when you're going to piss someone off. So let's just stay tuned.
Yeah, don't I know. Hey, Jess, you want to play a game?
Love to.
All right, let's try it. It's a new game here tonight. We call it Betwixt the Two. I remember.
We sure do. Thank you.
But before we get to the question, we have to know a little bit more about our contestant. Jess, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Jess Pryles. I am both an Australian and an American citizen. You can find me at jesspryles.com. You can find my products at hardcorecarnivore.com. And come visit us on the socials at Jess Pryles on all the things.
Here we go. Betwixt the two, which is the better midnight oil song? We're going back to the motherland.
Blindsided.
The motherland, that's right. After so much Def Leppard, I'm like, anything's going to be a slap in the face.
AC/DC would have been more obvious, but
Yes.
Midnight Oil.
Oh, no. Midnight Oil. So,
oh my God.
off the 1987 smash hit album, Diesel and Dust, Beds Are Burning. By the way, I have an extended cut to refresh the memory. It sounds a little something like this.
The time has come. A fact's a fact. It belongs to them. Let's
give it back. All right, we know the rest of the words. Or from the same 1987 smash hit album, Diesel and Dust, is it Dream World that's the better song? By the way, if you need a refresher, it sounds a little something like this. That's where my love terra firma gaveled in the mail.
Why do you sound British?
Farewell to those Norfolk Island pines. No amount of make-believe can help this heart of mine. I can sing that song all day. All right, you have.
Have you ever seen a Norfolk Island pine?
Have I ever seen the last square mile of terra firma gavelled in the mail? I don't even know what the hell that means.
You
But
know
the
what terra
song's
firma
great.
is?
I mean, that's grass, right? So, is it beds
beds
are
are
burning?
burning.
It's beds are burning.
Listen, I'm just going to go ahead and lock it in.
Oh.
It's what started his political career. It's arguably their most famous song. It's very impactful. And if you haven't seen Peter Garrett dance, everybody, you need to. Because
Yes,
Saturday
that
Night
I-
Live would do a million skits about it.
That I agree with. All right, you said lock it in. Last month was a loser. That means if we lose this month, we are now on what we call a losing streak. The good news is you're right. It is. Beds are burning. Although
Damn right.
that Dream World song is just so damn catchy, but for all of the reasons that, and I didn't know he turned into some type of political guy, but
he was in office for many years.
the
he was
dancing,
in the Green Party.
The dancing is just magical, so that wins it
is.
for me. All right, so
He looks like he's having some sort of fit.
next
It's
year,
fantastic.
if you get this right, you will now be on what we call a winning streak. So you've averted
Does
the
that-
losing streak, and you got to have 2 of something in order to have a streak. So
I hear
Or
you,
one
but
win.
do you understand that that was also my official invitation to be a correspondent for 2025? You just did it.
No, I just
No,
missed
you did.
What?
You just asked me back for 2025.
You want to
everyone
be
heard
the
you.
monthly guest?
Not monthly. I said quarterly.
Oh, all right.
Listen.
Well, good. Thank
But
you.
I'm saying you invited me back. You just
Yes.
told me that that's going to happen in 2025.
That's
so-
right. I did it. All right. I apologize. Would it be presumptuous of me to say, would you come back so we can try and get a winning streak together in 2025? And oh, by the way, have 3 additional segments.
Betwixt the 2 questions,
Yes?
my answer is yes.
All
I would
right.
this is so important to me. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Thank you. All right. So in the meantime, if you need recipes, it's justpriles.com. If you need rubs and a whole bunch of other cool stuff.
And just real quick, gratuitous shout out to our fried turkey seasoning, which is
Yeah.
currently available, seasonal, jalapeno garlic sage, hardcorecarnivore.com.
Yep.
Thank you. And
Very good. All right. So because we have a Thanksgiving coming up, of course, which you're probably well into from the recipe side of things. You're probably
So
already
well
done
into.
with it. So
I'm
so
out-turkeyed.
justpriles.com or hardcorecarnivore.com. Just always appreciate it. We'll see you in 2025.
Thanks, Greg.
You
Have a
got
good
it.
one, everyone.
Just Priles right there. And Off the Schneid, which is even better to see. So love that. And Diesel and Dust is the name of the album, and Midnight Oil is the name of the group. For the youngsters out there, maybe Wes Wright has no idea who Midnight Oil is. Maybe he does. We'll get it there in a second. I was surprised that he knew that he had a call out to Skrillex last month. All right, we'll do the Big Papa read, and then we'll get caught up with Wes Wright here from cookoutnews.com. We're a little late here, but well worth it. Are you ready for that perfect 180 on chicken, ribs, pork, or brisket? Big Papa Smokers has you covered with the best rub, sauces, and injections in the biz. For a limited time, use promo code BBQ Central and get 10% off all Big Papa Smokers products. That's right, 10% off the secret ingredients the championship teams swear by and win with weekend in and weekend out. Don't miss out on this incredible offer, whether you're aiming for a grand champion at your next barbecue contest or you're just looking to take your barbecue and grilled foods to the next level of awesomeness. Remember, your food just got better with Big Papa. Offer valid now through the end of the month, October 31st. Visit BigPapaSmokers.com and use promo code BBQ Central. We're back with Wes Wright right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Craig Wimpy.
Hey, we thank Jess Pryles for joining us last segment. This portion brought to you by McAuliffe Cigars. Step into the world of McAuliffe Cigars, where each blend is a chapter in a grand tale of craftsmanship and passion, a portfolio that has symphonies of flavors, Nicaraguan smoking experiences, McAuliffe Black, McAuliffe Blue, McAuliffe Red. Everybody that sent me an email over the last week, your samples are going out tomorrow. Your wait has now been worth it because I got a box of McAuliffe Red in the meantime. So you will now get one of each. McAuliffe Black Toro, McAuliffe Blue Toro, and a McAuliffe Red Toro. You win by staying patient. Coming out of the bullpen tonight is the guy that runs cookoutnews.com, and you find him here the third Tuesday of every month, normally in that 35 past the first hour, but gracious enough to bump back to allow an origin story from one Fred Bernardo in the first hour. It's Wes Wright. All right, Wes, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests. Is it time to boot Meathead off the show? 2 no-shows. Is 2 too many?
I think he has enough history and equity with you that he can go 2.
All right.
Boot him yet.
So 67% of the voting public agreeing with you, and the previous voter, Jess Pryles, both saying no. You said it way more succinctly than she did, which I always appreciate about you. You're all business all the time. Lots of different stuff happening in the world of live fire over the last 30 days. This isn't technical business, but I guess when you look at it from a law standpoint, it is technical business. Blues Hog losing a warehouse due to a fire. Do you know any details on how it actually happened and what the losses looked like?
Now they said it. I read one article that was from a local paper there that said it almost looks suspicious in nature. I don't want to throw any rumors out there, but I haven't heard definitively how it started. But I'd heard as of like this morning, it's still smoldering out there because of all that charcoal. I don't think you can put it out, so I think it's a total loss of that facility. From your conversations with Tim, I don't know how big his network is or what that means in terms of product or anything, but it's a bummer for everybody.
True Value and Do It Best. What's going on here, and why should we take notice, or why shouldn't we take notice?
I think you should take notice because it's consolidation in the industry. So Do It Best is buying True Value, and they're going into bankruptcy to start the process, so that way they can pay their creditors less money, I guess, for what they owe them, which I guess is a better alternative than just paying them nothing. But it's important because a lot of hardware stores, I think, are struggling. So a lot of your local stores are, you see it with Home Depot and Lowe's, but then that trickles down to local shops. And then even, I'm sure grill stores out there probably are feeling that heat too, because, consumers just aren't buying big purchases that are discretionary, so it's a big deal on that front that, it's a problem. It's consolidation, and it also means less options too. But the resulting company will be pretty big and should compete with Ace.
I don't know if I've heard of Do It Best, but I don't really know anything about them from a sizability standpoint. I've heard True Value. I always get Ace and True Value mixed up. So are all of these, like the Ace by Me is like a franchise? It's owned by somebody that lives in Willowick. I believe True Value, that's by me in Willoughby, also it looks locally owned with the amount of crap that they got in there. But I have never been in a Do It Best store. Is that also a locally owned kind of business model?
Yeah, they're called co-ops. So they're owned. It's like a franchisee model where you own it and then you rely on that parent brand in Ace or Do It Best or True Value to use their technology, supply chain, things like that. What's interesting about them is they position themselves as local stores. A lot of them actually aren't, though. Like by me, there's Great Lakes Ace Hardware, which I want to say they own like 300 stores. It's not like some small mom and pop. It's a massive company that owns a bunch of them. So it's some of them are definitely local. Some of them aren't though either. It's a co-op model.
Where do you think Ace sits in this mix? If Do It Best and True Value are, like, for all intents, combining in some way, does this make them a big competitor to Ace at this point?
Yeah, I think, you kind of hit it though. Like I've never stepped foot in a Do It Best. I don't even know if I've been to a True Value. If I have, it's been many years. But I don't think they have the same branding as Ace. Ace does a lot more, I feel like, promotional activity where you think, at least I associate them with selling grills. They're always promoting, Traeger, Big Green Egg. They sell Blackstone, Weber. And every store I go to, they have them front and center when you walk in. So I think of them with grills, and they're specialized in that. And it's just a brand that you see promoted a lot more. Where Do It Best or True Value, I don't know if I've ever seen an ad for either of those. They don't have them probably as much where I live, but at the same time, they're just, in size, they should compete. They'll have way more stores than Ace, so they just need to do a better job of getting it out there.
From an inventory standpoint, are they anywhere near as invested in barbecue stuff as Ace is? Because they're touting how much live fire stuff they're carrying.
Yeah, they don't put it out there quite like Ace does, but they do sell brands like, the big brands. They sell Charbroil, they sell Weber, they sell Traeger, they sell Blackstone, and then a few other brands too. Some ones that they even had a couple I'd never even heard of. I don't know if they're weird off brands, but they do definitely, sell grills, and with how many stores they have, they must sell a decent amount of them.
Uni has released something called the Karoo 2. It's a multi-fuel pizza oven. What do we like about
it? I like that it's, it's multi-fuel. It's a big oven. They're just like I think it's called a Pro 2 Max. Their Coda that they had come out, which is also a big oven. They're moving towards being able to cook more than just pizzas in your pizza oven. So like with that new Karoo, it's kind of the same idea. It's dual fuel, so you can use charcoal, wood, or you can use propane. Cook steaks in it, cook whatever you want. It's it's cool. And I don't know, I'd love to get your thoughts on this too, but they are really big into this, the Uni, I think it's called the Connect Hub. On the front, they have a digital thermometer that's connected. It has a meat probe, hooks up to your phone, which I would just use a grill for the most part, but I don't really need a pizza oven with a temperature probe too often, and with connectability, especially with how quick they cook. But I don't know. What do you think?
So I don't need the temperature probe. I have temperature probes out the wazoo at the moment, and at some point I'm going to have wireless temperature probes out the wazoo because I like to keep up with the Joneses. What I do in concept is if the internal thermometers can give me two readings, the stone reading or the deck reading, and then what the ambient temperature of the oven is. Because according to Matt Frampton, the Pizzaiolo de Pizziolis from Urban Slicer Pizza and Hot Grill on Grill Action, that's a key metric to figure out when the oven is ready to cook. You want to have the cooker and the stone be within a certain tolerance of each other. So if I know, and I know you can have the infrared gun, so you can shoot the deck, but then like, how do I know really what the temperature of the oven is in an ambient sense? Do I have to hang a probe in there? Can the probe even take 8, 9, 1,000 degrees of ambient temperature? So if that's part of it, then I buy into having that connect all day long. I'll never use the probe, get it out of here. But if it'll tell me what the deck and what the cooker or what the oven temperature is, then yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody else does that. And that would be, if it's accurate, that would be a great feature for me. I would spend the money. Do you think that $800 for this is on the higher end, or is that a good deal?
I mean, for me, it's kind of pricey because Gosney too has their dome, and they have a whole bunch of different versions of the dome that are pretty nice, and also some of them have larger deck sizes. I think it's pricey, but and what you said about temperature too. One thing I've always found with pizza ovens that have a built-in thermometer, because I've tested out a few, is I don't even know where they're taking the temperature. I always use my infrared gun because it shows me a number. It doesn't have anything to do with the stone temperature. I don't know what it's telling me. So, it's for me, it's just checking that temperature of the stone and then playing with the fire and figuring out kind of, what turns out a good pizza. But I wish they would at least just tell you, like, this is the temperature you need to work with and where it's from.
Barbecue Daddy Grill Brush gets an honorable mention from Home Depot and some awards, banquet, whatever. But it actually appears to be a better cleaning product than the product that won the award. Weird, right?
Yeah, that was just a joke. It was what won the award was a Starlink, which is like a satellite dish. So,
okay.
It's the only barbecue product though. They had a long list of products, and they only had that brush was the only thing that they found innovative, I guess, last year.
I don't know if you know the history on this. I'm asking you to fact check me here, but was this at one point called the Grill Daddy, or was the Grill Daddy brush a completely different product that you would know of?
I think it might have been, because it has a few names, like even the name, I believe even in the press release that Home Depot put out, I want to say they called it the Grill Daddy brush, which doesn't exist. If you look on their website for it, it's called, so it's I think one and the same.
What's the better buy? The Barbecue Daddy brush or the Grill Rescue brush?
I've never tried either. I've seen, I see the Grill Rescue all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really boring with cleaning. I use rolled up foil, and I have like a natural brush that I kind of use. Like, what's the Greg Rempe method of cleaning? Are you pretty meticulous about it, or have you tried any of those?
Yeah, sure. Well, I don't have either of those as well, and I'm also hounded by Grill Rescue brush all the time, probably because it's some kind of an algorithm thing they have running through Instagram. But I got my dad a Grill Daddy brush back when it was Grill Daddy, and it had a water chamber, but this one had really robust tines, which obviously everybody hates tines anymore because they break off and wind up in your lungs, what have you. But you would fill it up with water, you get the grill ripping hot, you'd go over it, you'd release the water, so your steam cleaning, that was like the whole big thing, steam cleaning, like the Barbecue Daddy grill brush talks about steam cleaning because you're soaking it in the cold water first, running over the hot grill grate. I have a grill brush that Doug Scheiding bought me one time, and I kept the tag, and I go to Amazon, and when I need to rebuy it, which is like once every 3 years, then I just buy a new one. It's like that spun, so there's no bristles, but it's spun, so nothing to break up. That thing is as badass as it gets. It's robust. It stands up to all kinds of heat. I use it on all the different cookers. And so I'm a weirdo when it comes to this. So when everything comes off the grill, everything goes on high. I let it go for about 10 minutes to really get hot. And then I go over it with the grill brush, shut everything off. And then next time on, everything on high, let it get hot again for 10 minutes, go back over it again. And then we start to cook. So I'm doing basically 2 cleanings in a row, overkill. Of course, I'm OCD. Have you met me? I cover all my grills and put everything with aluminum foil over that could get grease stripped on it. But that's what I do. And that grill brush works great. I mean, it's $20 tops.
Yeah, I don't know what the end like of the one you just described is. My only concern too is, with how taboo like metal bristles are now on that Barbecue Daddy. It's like a foam inner covered with a mesh metal. So I didn't know if that had a potential to break off at all, or if that was potentially a problem. But it was something to think about at least.
So I think Scrub Daddy is the parent company, and I use Scrub Daddy scrub pads in my house, like to clean dishes and stuff, and they work brilliantly.
Okay.
So that's the material that's inside of that metal coverage or whatever the hell it is. So almost like some form of a Brillo pad, but less Brillo-y.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think anything that doesn't have tines on it is going to be safer, but I don't know. I mean, like anything's going to kill you, right? So nothing's good enough. Everything's going to get you.
Right, yeah.
But at least it gets your grill grates cleaned. It uses the steam action that maybe a previous generation had. So we'll leave it at that. If you've used one or the other or both, then you can give us a compare and contrast right into the show. I'll pass it along to Wes. Don't contact him directly. He's very busy. New
One thing-
Traeger. Go ahead.
I was gonna say one thing. If you go on YouTube and you look for that barbecue daddy brush, they have a really weird video out there. It's like it's the shakiest cam you've ever seen. It's like extreme, like from the 90s. I don't know if it's like a gimmick, but it like for me, I couldn't watch it for more than like 30 seconds because it was like unsettling to watch. So if you're bored, look it up on YouTube.
Fair enough. New Traeger collaboration. This time they're bringing you a braising cast iron cooking vessel that is enamel coated. Is it porcelain coated cast iron?
Yeah,
Something like
yeah.
that?
Yeah, it's a cast iron with a nice enamel coating. It's almost like a Dutch oven, but wider and shallower, and it has like a V edge to it that's supposed to be made for braising meat. You can use it for stews or whatever you want as well. But yeah, they released that last Monday. They sent me one ahead of time, and it's a good looking product. It's pretty. Yeah, I know, I'm fancy.
Yeah,
and it looks nice. Like Made In makes they make quality cookware, so it's a collaboration that made a lot of sense for them.
If you didn't get one sent to you, would you go buy one?
So I'm not big on like brand collabs. I feel like you spend an extra $30 to $50 for the name. I would just go probably buy something else that Made In made, a different enamel cookware. But so I don't think I would spend the money on it personally for a collab. I would just buy, their standard products and run with them, if I'm being honest.
HPB Expo 2025 is going to New Orleans next year. Are you going?
I'm still undecided. I'm figuring that out right now because there's that, and then the National Hardware Show is that same week. It's like within a week of each other. So
really?
Yeah, so I'm curious what attendance will look like at the National Hardware Show because the expo is going to be bigger. But the only hang up is that it's in New Orleans. If I'm being honest, I'm I'm up here in Detroit, and your shirt's making me sad. But I wish it was somewhere in the Midwest that was drivable. Then I'd tell you, yeah, for sure I'd go. It's just I don't know if I have to figure out what I'm doing between those two shows.
Yeah, well, don't feel too sad because in as many nights they're getting their asses handed back to them. So I think it was 2-6, bottom of the 7th or bottom of the 8th last time I checked before we came on here to do the segment. It is returning to New Orleans. I think the last time it was there was COVID was literally happening that week. Might have been one of the last expos to have started, get through midweek, and then people were leaving early and trying to get back home because the people at the show were afraid maybe they weren't going to get back home or they were going to have to drive and not be able to fly, whatever. So a lot of people packed up early to get away from that. So getting back to New Orleans is, before that happened for those couple days, I think everybody thought it was a really good show. Everybody seems to love New Orleans. I've never been there because it will be in New Orleans in 2025 precludes me from going, of course. I'm not even going to lie about it. There's no way in hell I'm going to go to that. So we'll see what it looks like. But I think there's pretty good potential for attendance to continue to grow. I think last year it saw pretty good numbers, and the year before that in Louisville, it was cold. But it had just really started to come back from the COVID setback. So this could be a year where it really starts to pop out. I was shocked when you said that it was the same week as National Hardware Show. That's Vegas, right?
Yeah, it is. That's in Vegas.
So if I was going to go between one or the other, I would probably go out to Vegas at this point, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards that one just because I have some relationships there too. So, it makes more sense for me. Where I don't really know the HPBA folks that well. So
anything you're working on we should be on the lookout for over the next 30 days?
We got some new product releases. The Pits and Spits front, their built-in pellet grill, the front load hopper just came out. It'll be a story up either right now, probably on my website. I don't know if you're talking to Ryan anytime soon or talk to him.
Well, he was just
recently,
on
but
2 weeks ago. We were talking about the release of the standalone grill and griddle. Actually, that was when you were on last month. So I just got a memo from Aaron today saying we're releasing the new built-in. So do you have to have an island in order to put it in, or does it come as a modular setup, like in its own little island if you wanted to?
they only show it in an island on their website, and the photos I was sent, it's fully built in. So you'd have to build something custom, I guess, if you wanted it to not be. But I mean, it looks pretty solid. Plus it has some like nice outdoor kitchen features you'd want, like a touchscreen controller and things like that just, make it high end.
All right, so we'll be on the lookout for that. I did the read in the first hour, getting everybody hyped up about it. But if you want to know more, head on over to Wes's website, cookoutnews.com. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter, the weekend refuel that comes out every Saturday, so you can catch up on the hot items that Wes has been writing on, and you can see him right here on the third Tuesday of every month. Wes, appreciate you backing up here for the bullpen segment, and we'll get back to normal time in November.
Yep, thanks for having me, Greg.
You got it. Wes Wright, cookoutnews.com. Sign up for the newsletter, as I just mentioned. Make sure you are on top of the most important stories as they are happening in the business world, the live fire. And you can see Wes on the show third Tuesday of every month. 9:35 is the normal segment. All right, we're going to step away just for 1 second. We'll come back. We'll wrap the show. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back, and we thank Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com for joining us last segment. I'm almost interested in the Uni Pizza Oven. At Hartville Hardware's Grill Fest, Matt Frampton was cooking on one of the Gosneys. It wasn't the big dome that's got the big flame shooting out from the floor deck, but it did have flames like running up through the top. And he said, I think for the price, he seemed to turn out really good pizzas. Matt can turn out really good looking pizzas on anything. I do like using the Green Mountain Grill pizza oven insert, but I've also thought that having a dedicated pizza oven would probably not be a bad idea for the amount of high heat Neapolitan style pies that we do. And you could do steaks and some other stuff in it too if you wanted to, just to get some more versatility out of it. I'm interested. Do you have a pizza oven, standalone pizza oven that you use and that you really like and that you can know temperature on and all that fun stuff? If so, let me know. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. As I had mentioned before we started talking to Wes, for the folks that have asked for cigar samples. So Chris and Matt and Brandon, Jason, and Jeff, those will go out either tomorrow or on Thursday. I can't commit to one day or the other yet, but know that they will be hitting the mail this week. They will all go out USPS priority, wrapped, and you will get one each, black, blue, and red, all in Toro size, because that's what they send me for free. Also, T-shirts have been made and are now in the shipping phase, so I should have those, I'm assuming, by end of the week, beginning of next week, and I'll start to ship those out to everybody. So you get them in your hot little mitts here, hopefully before the end of the month. And the Barbecue Hall of Fame, Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame rings are also inbound as well. So everything's coming in, and then everything will get turned out in its proper place. All right, that's going to call it an evening there. All the way back in the first hour, it was all Fred Bernardo all the time, smoke guitar player, formerly of Tasty Licks Barbecue Supply, formerly of Fred's Music Supply, formerly of a big-time regional cover band that he drew a salary from, a professional musician, Fred Bernardo. Visionary, YouTube videos, the pizza. You know, now that I think about it, because Diane mentioned it, is he still doing pizza? He was bringing in Italian flour, 00 flour, doing pizza classes. Like, he was really into it back in the day. Bringing in the Alpha Forno ovens. He had really expensive ovens that he was bringing in, too. Crazy. Great to see Fred again. Great to have him on. Appreciate his time. Then it was Jess Pryles in the second hour, talking about the TV show, talking about her not giving an F when it comes to social media and how that has paid off in spades. And then closing out the show, Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com. Big show planned for you next week. It is the fourth Tuesday of the month, so that definitely means embedded correspondence amongst others. So how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. This is your program host and proud U.S. American Greg Rempe saying, Shalom! Shalom!
This is Jennifer Palamas from Charlotte, North Carolina, and this is Barbecue Central.